I am taking on a massive project. I am remastering every single famous and infamous Capcom cutscene ever. You might see an 8K HDR archive of the cutscenes you cherish the most on my YouTube channel in the coming months. So get ready for it. My ladies, gentlemen, and NBs, I'm Rainin Noodles, and you heard me right. Every scene you're nostalgic for, I'm archiving every single one. And I'll do you even one better. I'm enhancing each one by hand. As a matter of fact, this live action scene from Resident Evil 1 is available for viewing right now. This video, however, will explain how I'm doing it and give you a layman-friendly explanation of all of the technologies that enable me to do so. It involves AI, some clever tricks from the film industry, and a really beefy computer being used by a guy who did a lot of incredibly boring research. Real quick, if you end up enjoying this video, please consider subscribing. That's all I wanted to say. Let's get into the video. Here is my step-by-step process. Recording and exporting. The biggest benefit you'll see in these remasters is raw bitrate. Obviously, they're available in 8K, but even at this 8K resolution, this clip contains way more data than your standard 8K video. Ladies and gentlemen and all my NBs, allow me to introduce you to our first hero, RE1. Odds are you might have heard of H.264 or H.265. If you have, consider RE1 the next iteration of that. And if you haven't, what I named are video rendering codecs. Essentially, they are algorithms that determine how the data of the video is written. These algorithms depend on hardware inside of your device that knows how to decode them and turn them back into video, which gets projected onto your display. H.264 is what is most commonly found. The device you're watching right now most certainly supports H.264. Otherwise, you wouldn't be seeing this video. RE1 is great for several reasons. One, because it's an open standard backed by the biggest media giants in the industry. YouTube already supports the delivery of RE1 videos, and will show you the RE1 copy of the video if it detects that your device can decode it. RE1 will be the future of content delivery over the internet, and this is because of number 2. RE1 is the most efficient algorithm that exists today. I make YouTube videos in 4K, 60 FPS, and in HDR. Want to guess the file size for these videos? I mean, they must be pretty massive, right? Well, back in December, I made a 40-minute Resident Evil video that fit all of those criteria, and it fit entirely within 2.5 gigabytes. In February, I made another video that was the same length and had even heavier footage, and it was even smaller. Had I rendered this in H.264, a video like that would have been around 20 to 40 gigabytes. The biggest con of RE1 is not all devices support it, and decoding an RE1 file is very performance intensive. The way RE1 works is it creates a simple blueprint of each frame of the video, then heavily compresses it. That blueprint gets sent to your device, and if your device has RE1 decode, it will reconstruct the entire video on its end, instead of relying on the entire video to be delivered over the internet. Naturally, it costs performance to basically rebuild an entire video before it is shown to you. If you don't have RE1 support, YouTube will simply send you the VP9 copy of the video, which is YouTube's own custom codec based around maximum compatibility. My iPhone 14 Pro Max, for example, pulls up the VP9 codec copy of this same video, but my PC can pull up the RE1 version. RE1 decode is a little spotty. Apparently the PS4 Pro happens to have the ability to decode RE1, but not my brand new iPhone. If you're watching on desktop, any NVIDIA GPU starting from the 3000 series to newer, and every Radeon GPU starting from the 6000 series and newer, supports RE1 decode. The Xbox Series X and S, as well as the PS5, also support RE1 decode. But in short, thanks to this revolutionary new algorithm that has been introduced to the media world, this 8K HDR 30 FPS scene I remastered is less than an entire gigabyte. I can fit so much Jill Valentine R34 on my computer. AI. Artificial intelligence was another helpful tool, but it was also the biggest pain in my rear, believe it or not. I was very curious about what this live-action cutscene would look like at 60 FPS, so I figured it might be interesting to use a technique called interpolation to achieve that. Interpolation is the act of combining the next and the previous frame in a video to create an entire new frame and place it in between, therefore creating the illusion of a smoother video. This went sour real fast. I first tried to use an AI model called Rife included within an app titled Flow Frames. Interpolation works best when there is a very slow and limited amount of movement on screen. The opening cutscene for Resident Evil 1 is the polar opposite of that. When you try to use it on a scene that contains a lot of movement, you get what is called artifacting. I'll show some of it on screen, but notice how the grass kind of bulges and bubbles a little when Chris's legs walk through it. This also comes up when there are abrupt camera changes. So when the camera flicks between Joseph and the mutant dogs, it looks like the scenes are literally morphing into each other instead of an abrupt cut. The Animorphs meme becomes a reality. I then tried to use a model included within DaVinci Resolve, which is called optical flow. This got me a much smoother picture, but the artifacts were just as bad. Maybe even worse. Because of this, I decided it was probably best to keep the frame rate the same as the original. To be honest, even if this worked perfectly, I'd probably get some nostalgia simps bitching, it's too weird, or that's not how that scene is intended to be watched. So it's whatever, you weirdos win this time. I also tried to upscale the image and ran into problems with this. Despite all of my effort, it was really hard to upscale this video while also keeping it looking sharp. I used DaVinci's own Superscale algorithm, but it's been giving me very underwhelming results. Superscale grabs information from nearby pixels to decide what color to make the additional pixels it creates, giving off the perception of a higher resolution video. However, when the color information is already so limited, yeah, it kind of just becomes really soft no matter how much I sharpen it. In the future, I might just invest in a license for Topaz Labs Gigapixel model, which seems to be much higher quality and better trained than DaVinci Resolves. It's unfortunate, but this will have to do for now, as I'm a little strapped for cash after spending $400 to buy Street Fighter 6 twice. Don't judge me. I also used DaVinci's spatial and temporal noise removers to reduce some of the compression artifacts from the original cutscene. They had to get this onto a PS1 disc, so I understand why it looks so shitty, but it creates a lot of blockiness in the fog, as you can see here. I was limited in how much I could do with this too, however. This was also making the image really soft, so I had to use a very small amount of it and just leave it. I don't know, it seems like AI is ironically not pulling its weight here. It seems to just hate this cutscene for some reason. You're telling me this shit is gonna enslave all of humanity when it can't even figure out what Chris's jawline is supposed to look like? I don't know, guys.
All of this junk data, preserved in an unfiltered state, growing at an alarming rate.
It will only slow down social progress, reduce the rate of evolution.
How's that possible? The AI was destroyed.
And this is the way the world ends. Not with a bang, but a whimper.
And lastly, we have my own edits. On top of AI, I used my own shitty editing skills to enhance this video. Because the temporal noise remover wasn't enough, I introduced a handy helping of film grain to stave off the banding. That's right, you might have not even noticed it, but I put in film grain. It wasn't there originally. This actually seems like it works quite a bit better than I honestly would have thought. Most people hate film grain, but I actually really like it when it's implemented in a clever way. There's a video game I love called Dying Light that actually used really subtle film grain to make the textures look more detailed than they actually were, which, you know, on the Xbox One and the PS4, those things not having a lot of VRAM made a big difference. Some movies actually do this for similar reasons. It tricks your brain into thinking there's extra detail in places where there actually aren't. I also did my own color grading. I tried not to go too crazy with it, especially since I don't really know what I'm doing, but I darkened the darks and brightened the lights in the image to add more dynamic range to take advantage of the fact that I was going to be uploading this in HDR. This whole video I've actually been avoiding the industry terminology, which happens to be, well, it's on screen right now. This isn't very well thought out. Here's my DaVinci HDR settings, by the way, if you want to do the same. HDR stands for high dynamic range, which means your display has a larger amount of colors it can use. This fixes issues like banding, which is the harsh clumping of colors in a gradient, much like you see in the fog in the background. It also creates more natural contrast because HDR displays also tend to be able to get both brighter and darker than SDR displays, especially OLEDs. The HDR standard I'm using in particular is called HLG, or hybrid log gamma. This is convenient because it actually detects if your display can process an HDR image, and if not, it simply shows an SDR copy of the video. It accomplishes this by changing the gamma, hence the name. So those of you without fancy OLEDs and modern GPUs can still enjoy this remaster too. There was one issue though. HDR videos tend to be more saturated than SDR videos. This is because of the difference in the color space. For some godforsaken reason, The video editors for this cutscene decided to place a red logo in front of a red fire effect, and it's so hard to read. And ironically, it's even harder to read after converting it to HDR. I genuinely tried, guys, but I just could not find a fix for this. I've tried tons of stuff. I'm really annoyed by this too. Maybe sometime I can revisit this in the future and find a way to do it when I get better at color grading. The next step was audio. I did an EQ pass on the audio and tweaked it a bit to be more ear candy than anything. This EQ changes how pronounced each frequency of the audio signal is to your headphones or speakers. Here's the EQ curve that I used. Essentially, I lifted the bass, which is the lower frequencies, to better bring out the gunshots and pump up the music later in the scene. I then lifted all the other frequencies to bring those out a little more too, but I lowered the mids just a smidge, just to get rid of some of the muddy white noise from the character's vocals. And now, it is finished. That was a very quick, low-level rundown of how I made this remaster, which you can watch right now down in the description. I know there was a lot of technical jargon, but I hope some of you learned some cool new tech stuff from this video. By the way, while you're here, why not leave a comment of the next scene you'd like to see me tackle? I'm open to ideas, so go ahead and leave some suggestions below. Or if you happen to know more than I do about AI or color grading, I would also appreciate whatever advice I can get. I want to archive these cutscenes for the internet to be able to see forever, and I want them to exist in the best form possible. So any advice you have would be very much appreciated. It's now time to briefly do subscriber shoutouts. I've been slowly but surely gaining subs, and we have a few for this video. Big ups to Jammy Fish, Peter Co 2, and Game Sushi. These are my latest subscribers. Thank you guys so much. I actually got a few more while I was making this video. Big ups to Sean Nolan and Joseph Hampton. Thank you guys so much. Do you want a shout out? Well, I give shout outs to all my followies. What's a followie? It's like a groupie following a rock star, except there's no drugs and there's no sex. It's more fun than it sounds, I promise. The best way to become a followee is to help out Jill and hit that subscribe button. I make content on everything Capcom, and I think they're pretty cool. I hope you can agree. That's enough shilling for now. Go do something fun tonight, my ladies, gentlemen, and NBs. Y'all are amazing and you fucking deserve it. All that being said, I'm officially out. Peace.